Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Oregon, another team making some noise in the transfer portal. It's been a very busy day in the transfer portal in terms of commitments, guys finding new homes. There might not be a more talented dude to find a new home than Jordan Burch, who is going to Oregon. In my mind, a massive pickup for the Ducks. You see his recruiting profile on 24/7 up now. A former top 10 dude nationally, the best player from South Carolina, one of the best defensive linemen from that 2020 class, a guy that, quite frankly, was on my draft board coming into the year. Hasn't necessarily reached that potential of the bona fide five-star that he was coming into South Carolina, but he's going to a place that if I trust any coach in the country to develop defensive linemen, talented five-star defensive linemen, it's going to be Dan Lanning. And I think that is why he finds himself going to Eugene. Before we get into it, talk a little bit about the program and player. Just want to say thank you guys. Truly, the support means a ton. It's been a very busy year in college football. We've been talking a lot of ball with you guys, and the support you guys have shown means a lot. And we love making these videos to talk football with you guys in the comment section. So if you really do enjoy the content, consider subscribing. That is the best way you can support the boys. We really do appreciate it. Let's start talking a little Jordan Burch. This is a guy that coming out of South Carolina, coming out of high school in South Carolina, you kind of thought he's going to play that interior defensive line spot. 6'5", 275 pounds. Kind of had that frame to play inside. He's a thicker, heavier hand dude, more of a three-tech dude. But I think South Carolina looks at this guy and says he's way too athletic to put him on the inside. They kept him on the edge, and I think he needed some adjustment time. And the exciting part for Oregon is I watched some tape on him because I thought he was going to go to the 2023 NFL draft. I don't think he's fully kind of reached that potential. That being said, this was by far his best year he's put together on the college football field. Again, 7.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Very, very active, very strong hands. I don't want to make a Trayvon Walker comp from Georgia with Dan Lanning, but that's kind of where he reminds you of. I don't think he's as explosive as Trayvon Walker, but in terms of being able to get right through a tackle, I think this kid, that's kind of what he brings. And you look at this defensive line for Oregon, and we'll take a look at what they've done in the transfer portal. You got to be really excited about what this defensive line looks like. I thought the defensive line would have been a little bit better. I thought that front seven for Oregon would have been a little bit better. Justin Flo, Noah Sewell, not necessarily bad years. With Justin Flo, probably not so much, but Noah Sewell, not necessarily a horrible year, but definitely wasn't the top 20 NFL draft pick that a lot of Oregon fans, including myself, kind of hoped for. Now, I'm really excited about what Oregon brings back on that defensive line heading into this year. Brandon Dorlus, one of my favorite dudes in the whole entire country, I believe a couple days ago, said he's coming back to Oregon. You're going to put Jordan Burch on the other side. That is two really heavy-handed guys on both sides of it, and that's kind of what Dan Lanning likes to do. When you look at some of the guys he's put out, Trayvon Walker kind of being the best example, he likes the heavy-handed, powerful edge guys, and Jordan Burch and Brandon Dorlus are exactly that. This defense seems to be very, very tough to run on. I think what you want to see if you're an Oregon fan is teach these guys to rush the passer a little bit better. Again, Brandon Dorlus and Jordan Burch both have the capability to be elite edge rush pass rushers on the outside. I think Dan Lanning and that defensive line and defensive staff need to kind of develop these dudes, but you have to be really excited about the talent. And that's not even to mention, you take a look at the 2023 class and who they're bringing in, not only through the portal, but also through high school. Mateo Yu coming in too. He's a guy that there's not many 18-year-olds that are ready to rock and roll on the defensive line immediately. Mateo Yu is going to be kind of one of those dudes. Jordan Burch coming in. Evan Williams was a guy from Fresno State that apparently a lot of Power 5 teams wanted. And Dan Lanning is somebody I trust probably more than any other coach in the country in terms of evaluating talent. Very excited for him to get in. Keontae Johnson, Bo Nix's adopted brother, I believe, coming over from Troy. He's just kind of a really small dude, but very, very quick. But some of these guys I'm very, very excited about. Ajani Cornelius coming over from Rhode Island was one of the highest graded, I believe the second highest graded tackle in the transfer portal. I think you have Josh Conley as well to be very excited about. The trenches for this Oregon team look to be getting very, very strong, especially when you bring in a guy like Junior Angelo from Texas as well, but also kind of the positions that I think maybe you had the biggest question marks on. losing Christian Gonzalez. I don't think that cornerback room is going to be horrible. I like some of those guys. That being said, a Kyrie Jackson coming over from Alabama, former JUCO guy, who no doubt in my mind Dan Lanning recruited to Georgia at some point, now coming to Oregon. Trayshawn Holden, a playmaker from the outside from Bama, coming to Oregon. Probably another guy Dan Lanning's been in contact with at some point. And then Justin Jacobs, a guy from at linebacker from Iowa, very productive in his years. He was another guy that a lot of people were excited about. They're making, and we've talked about this, and we talked about it just on this USC episode we did a little bit ago, is a lot of teams are kind of just trying to grab quantity in the transfer portal. I think you saw USC do that last year. Oregon, teams like USC, they're grabbing a little bit more quality of players, like 10, maybe 15 transfers tops. But these guys are all starting Power 5 level caliber players. And this is the best the Pac 12 has been in a very, very long time. You take a look at what this Pac 12 teams could be. Washington looks to be very dangerous. USC obviously looks to be very dangerous. Utah getting Cam Rising back, dangerous team. And another team, and I'm sure Oregon fans know this team will be pretty solid, Oregon State. And getting DJU, and this team is, Oregon State's never a sexy team, but they're a damn good team. They were a very good team last year. I think they'll be a very good team next year. The Pac-12 is loaded, and I think Oregon, USC, those schools that we just listed seem to be the teams that are kind of the lead contenders in the Pac-12, and it's an arms race. These teams are all trying to acquire talent and win the Pac-12 this year. It's going to be a very, very Pac-12 After Dark should be next level this year. As an East Coast guy, I feel like the Pac-12 After Dark vibes haven't been as great the last couple of years. Last year they were great, and this year they are going to be an absolute blast. I cannot wait. These Pac-12 teams seem to just be absolutely loaded to the gills, and Oregon helps himself out in a big way getting Jordan Burch again. Wanted to keep this one short for you guys, but Jordan Burch, a player who is a big-time kind of dude coming out of high school, hasn't really met his potential yet, but there's not a guy I trust more than Dan Lanning in terms of developing talented defensive linemen. Appreciate you guys checking us out again. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.